Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Redden, and today I'm joined by Lucy from Lucy Faith Soulful Coaching to share her story of healing trauma. Welcome, Lucy. Thank you for joining me.
Hi Sarah, thank you for having me and inviting me.
That's my absolute pleasure. For people that are listening, Lucy and I do know each other, and we've known each other, I think we met about 10 and a half, 11 years ago. Does that sound right to you?
Does sound like that's a long time, but yeah, it does. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
back
so
doing my training for life coaching.
yeah, yeah.
That's yeah.
And you've gone on to develop like Lucy Faith Soulful Coaching. I know you've been through a few different evolutions. So would you like to kind of introduce yourself and let the people that don't know you know a little bit about you, please?
Yeah. Okay. So my name's Lucy, and as you know, and I do soulful coaching, which is kind of like intuitive coaching, soul retrieval coaching. So reclaiming parts of you that you lost to the outside, and it's kind of like healing coaching. So I've developed it over the years. So I went into coaching and I created a company for mums called Mumazing, and and our mums came together to support each other and to be who they truly are and to learn how to be a mum and to navigate through motherhood and life. And that went really well. And then I went on my own inner journey. And through that, started discovering about how we can get wounded. And my passion has always been about breaking generational patterns.
Yeah.
That's why I work with mums, to break the patterns, like the wounds we get passed down from generation to generation. And that's what I'm passionate about. And then I went on my own journey to do that for myself
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what you're going to share a little bit more with us
Yeah.
today, isn't it? It's sort of about your healing journey, where you've been. And I know we've had personal discussions about that. So there is some things that I am going to know, but I'm still going to ask you the questions for the people that are listening and don't know. Um,
Yeah.
So where would you like to start with that? With kind of, do you want to start with where you are now, or do you want to start with where you've been?
Yeah. So where I am now is I start where I am now. So I'm starting to evolve and to come out of retreating, because I retreated quite a bit, and to kind of like really feel about where it is now that I want to belong in
Mm,
the kind of like world of self-help, personal growth, life coaching, healing. Try and find where it is that I'm going. So I'm just in that part of evolving. Um, and I've been writing poetry. I discovered that I loved writing poetry and I healing poetry, and I want to publish a book on my poetry. So I'm just at the start of that, bringing it all together.
yeah.
And so yes, that's where I am now, and I feel very like I've gone through this process and gone through this place where now I'm like, okay, this is like a different kind of life now. Now
Yeah.
that I've become a different person, evolved, healed my inner wounds, because I had my wounds with my other work, my coaching business. However, my last coaching business was still from much a wounded place.
Mm.
So I feel more, I feel in a better place to do it now.
So that you feel sort of more connected in with yourself, and that you're bringing that into the work that you do and the way in which you work with people.
Yes, and I can do it more. I've noticed with my work now, it's more powerful because I'm
Mm.
so intuitive now, and I can tune in. And it's really powerful coaching. Where before I was like teaching, so I'd be in like the used to hire a hotel room and have women around the table and be very much training, teaching about tools that they could have, and coaching. Now I find my work so much deeper than that. It's
Mm.
really deep and it's really intuitive, and really, I do channelings. It comes through me now, and it's just a different kind of way
Yeah.
of
So
doing it.
how
Yeah.
did you get from where you was to where you are now?
Okay. So wow, I don't know where to start with that because it's been such a journey. Like,
And only answer what you're
oh,
happy to share. Like, this isn't a therapy session. I mean, it is very much, it is about conversation, but I know, I'm aware, we talked before, we already have a personal connection. So
yeah.
this, we talk in a personal way, but it's, being aware people are listening to us. So it's whatever you're happy with sharing.
Okay. So how I got to from there to here. So I was doing my coaching business and it was going well. and it was growing. I had an awards event with a really plush, partnered up with a plush magazine, and it was great, and it was growing, and it was really, really it was out there, and I was having like groups in North London. I set one up in North London, but it was like my outer world was okay, but my inner world wasn't. So my inner world was in like, I still didn't feel good enough. I still lacked in confidence inside. I still found it really hard to go to like networking events, be around other people. I found it hard to really push for, not push, but like, to find the balance of receiving income to what I did. And I just found like my company, the company that I set up, controlled me in a way, put pressure on me, controlled me. And then I just ended up in so much conflict with myself. Like one day, like so just done the awards event, and I was ill after that. So I got burnout, I got adrenal fatigue. So I was pushing it so hard, pushing, which is unhealthy now. And I've learned all about that. And I remember just being like at home and saying to my boyfriend at the time, like, I don't want this. I don't want this life. I don't want the big house. I don't want the money. I don't want this status. I just want to be in a camper van, actually. I just want to be in a camper van under the stars, by a fire. I don't want this. And I just said that to myself, and I thought, God, I've been pushing for that. I've been pushing for that big company, that 6 figures, that to help people all over the world. I've been pushing for that. And actually, when I come down to it, I don't really want that. And I was so burnt out. So I was just going to myself, where is this all coming from? Like, where is this coming from? And it was, I don't feel good enough, basically. That's why I was pushing so hard in my company, because I wanted to be something. I wanted to become something. And it's because I didn't feel good enough. I thought if I became something, then I'd be enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Then I'd be good enough. And then from that, I had a breakdown. So I had a breakdown. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And that started my healing journey.
So what helped you kind of transition from that space of kind of recognizing this is what's going on for me? I'm not feeling good enough, and I'm burning out. I'm helping people. I'm doing quality work. I'm helping other people move forward. But this isn't lighting me up. This isn't my passion. I see use in it, but it's not the thing. It's not the thing I need to do. Going through the breakdown situation to sort of being where you are now, where you're coming back out of that into your truth, into your space, and being able to share what's helped you through that healing.
Truth, basically. Being true with myself has helped with that healing. That's what I talk a lot about, being true. What's true? What do you feel? What's the truth? What's really going on? And that's like not pretending either. So like, people said to me from the outside, Lucy, like, amazing was really great, and it was. And the women, I'm amazing. Like, they still come to me now and said, you helped me with this, blah, blah, blah. But on the inside, I was struggling. I was having an internal battle because I was putting so much stress on myself for getting the money in. So I think what happened is I had the breakdown, and then I started to do some healing, went to therapy, and then I was still creating unhealthy patterns in my business. So I was still doing that. And I remember just sitting down with my accountant and saying to him, do you know what? I said, I want to help people. I said, I don't want to be a company director. It's controlling me. I don't like it. I don't like it. I want to just help people. That's what I want to do. That's where my heart is. That's why I went into this was to help people. So he said, why don't we shut down the company? So I shut down the company, and then just went on, kind of like shut myself away and did therapy, healing, what's true, and just got to complete and utter coming away from, the things that when you have like pain and wounds, you want your outside to try and fix it for you. Like, so I wanted the company to try and fix it for me and stuff like that. So just like healing that. So now I don't have those unhealthy attachments, unhealthy. Yeah. So that's what's got me here, really.
There's real societal pressure, I think, and especially in like the coaching industry, there's this real kind of narrative about making your 8-10K months, and if you're not doing this, then you're not successful. So what I'm hearing you say is that you recognize that what success meant to you was different to the idea that society was telling you that success should be.
Yeah, and the coaching industry, like, I don't know, like when I was little, when I was younger, I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like, what the hell is this place? like, where is it that I've landed? You know, I just was a quiet child, very anxious, very like, I don't know what this place is. I felt that with the coaching industry. So I'd go into the coaching industry and felt like I didn't fit in, just felt like I felt it was ruthless. I felt like it was a bit aggressive at times, you know, with their approach. And I thought, I can't have a coaching business like that. I can't do it. I can't go out and play on people's pain to make money. I just can't do that. And that's how I found it. And I was going on all these courses to learn, you know, how to have a successful coaching business. And I was just not aligning with it. I just felt in my heart, it's just not me. It's not me personally. Like, it can be somebody else, but it's just not me. So I'm not dissing the coaching industry. Just for me, it wasn't. So I had to kind of like come away from the coaching industry and take myself away from it, just to get back and go, what is it? What is it that you really want to do, Lucy? And I wanted to do it in a different way, because what I was being taught and what I was doing was very masculine, push, push, push.
Yeah, and that's what I'm sat with. Like, and I know you talk about sort of masculine and feminine energy, and it's that the mainstream way that we can be taught in kind of the coaching world is that masculine kind of hustle push, like you say.
Yeah, and I burnt out because of that, because I was pushing, and I burnt out, and that's not my natural energy. I'm a very feminine person. Like you said before you got on the call, you speak softly, which I do. I don't, you know, I didn't, when I was in my masculine energy, when I look back now, like, that's just not me. My natural place is here in my feminine, soft energy. And I find that hard to do that to have that coaching business. I find it hard. So that's why I want to come back and do it in a different way, which is more softer in my feminine energy, because that's where I'm more powerful. That's where my intuition comes from, because I'm so intuitive. So yeah.
And also, of course, it's that healing journey, that understanding, because if you hadn't had like Amazing and that business and worked through that, and you know, the ideas of what success were for you, I guess maybe you wouldn't be where you are now, because you wouldn't have been able to tap into, as you've described, the wounds that needed healing.
It is, and it's like I say, like, you know, you have wounds, and so you have unhealthy attachments, whether that's with your your previous partners, friendships, or any behaviors that you do. Well, one relationship was my business. That business was like another unhealthy attachment, because I found it very controlling. It controlled me. It put pressure on me. It was just, I just found it, that relationship I had with my business was an unhealthy one, even though the core of what I did with mums, and they say it to me, and I love that work, so I don't want to ever take that away. What I did with mums was amazing, and I loved it. It was just the container and the framework that I put it in that kind of like,
and that's what I'm hearing you saying. It's not the clients that you were working with. There's an alignment with the clients. It was the structure that you'd built around yourself.
And wanting more, you know, being in lack, going, I want more clients, I want more people to come to my group, I want more followers on social media, I want more money. It was being in lack all the time, and and that was coming from wounding, being from lack. You know?
So how did you recognize that was wounding and that was something that needed healing?
Through my breakdown and through my conflict. So I said it was when my soul and mind collided. So I was teaching it, I knew it, but inside I didn't feel it. So they collided. I went into conflict. So I went into therapy, and then the therapist said to me, you've got codependency and attachment. So I'd worked through my codependency, the codependency that I had, and, you know, start to heal that and go into recovery from codependency. I then found out that I had CPTSD, so I had to start healing from my trauma that I had from when I was younger and up until that point, because I created the same trauma, because I go back into the same patterns, create the same trauma. So then I had to, you know, start really going, actually, I've got trauma that I need to be aware of, and really become aware of myself and who I am. So really connect with me and why I do the things I do, and to have compassion for myself, have that self-love, and heal.
Yeah. And that's it, isn't it? That, I mean, they're the things that I talk about week in, week out in all my spaces, and I know you do as well. It is that self-compassion. It's that tapping into the internal stuff that's going on, listening to the emotions, listening to where that disconnect is between what your head is saying and what your heart, your soul is being pulled to do, and kind of being in that space. It's not easy, is it? Being in that uncomfortable space of the not knowing and the
letting
really
go,
feeling into the feelings.
feeling into feelings, letting go, because I was always in my head and my heart was very closed. Now I'm totally different. I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm never in my head. I'm always in my heart now, and I feel a lot now. So I don't block out my feelings, whether that's good,
Yeah.
but upset feelings, happy feelings. Yeah.
And
And
how
it's
has
like,
that
yeah,
changed life for you?
amazing, like amazing. I don't struggle now with life because I can communicate well, I can be vulnerable, I can be, I know that nothing's personal towards me. So it's always about, it's something's happening, it's to do with the other person. Boundaries, and like all about boundaries, and communication. And so my life is easier now.
Mm.
So
What
easy.
what would you want to say to people that are listening, that kind of maybe old Lucy resonates with, that they're in that space of striving for a success that doesn't feel aligned, that they maybe feel disconnected from the feelings, that or don't want to connect with their feelings? Because I know that's something I have experienced in my own life, as a protective measure,
Yeah.
and it's something that I've come across with many of my clients, that not wanting to sit with the feelings. What would you say to those people? What words of wisdom or inspiration would you want to kind of pass on?
Okay, so even though it feels scary, it's where the magic is. It really is where the magic is. It's where you'll know, where the knowing becomes, like when I went into my feelings and really tuned into myself, I got the awareness. That's why that's why I struggle with this. That's why I do that. Don't do that. That's why I'm like this in that situations, because I feel this way. Become really, like I say, it's leaning in.
Mm,
Lean into it and feel into yourself and go, what's really going on here? Because I say, what's really going on here? Like what's really going on? And just go into my feelings, and they
mm.
can be uncomfortable and they can be scary. And God, I've purged a lot. I've purged all these feelings, and yeah, I've cried, I've grieved, and it can be scary. But just look after yourself in the process and get the right people around you, because that's healing. To release it out of your body is healing, and that's where you become free of
Mm.
yourself.
What's helped you with that kind of that space, like the self-care stuff, because that's what I'm all about. What has helped you through that journey to be kind to yourself and kind of be able to hold space for yourself while you're
Yeah.
in that uncomfortable stuff?
So just really become your own like parent. I became my own parent, my own partner, my own
Yeah.
best friend.
Yeah.
That's what I became. And I had no choice. It was like, you're going on this journey, so you've got to go through it. It wasn't like I tried to pull out. I had no choice. I was
Yeah.
being on it. So I just comfort myself to say, it's okay, Lucy, nothing bad's happening. Everything's going to be okay. Nothing bad's happening. You're just going through this. It's because of that. And just really talk to myself, self-talk
Yeah.
to myself.
I mean, we've got some kind of mirrored stuff, haven't we? There's things that we've talked about personally that's mirrored, and we did sort of say at the beginning, like, we've got our tissues ready in case we get emotional. We
Yeah.
we knew this might get a bit heavy for us both, and I'm sitting and I'm kind of nodding away. The same thing. It is that reparenting yourself. Even if you've come from a background where you feel like your parents did a really, really good job, there's still going to be bits. There's still bits that need that love and need that nurturing and need to know that it's okay, and need that kind of. So it's not about coming from a space of being broken, because none of us are broken. It is
Mm.
about recognizing that we carry wounds
Yeah.
and they get picked, poked, stabbed,
Yeah.
whatever language you want to use, they get triggered as we
Yeah.
move through things. And it really is, isn't it, that self-talk, that self-soothing, that being able to raise your vibrations to a space of this is okay. So not ignoring it and pushing it down, which I absolutely in the past have been guilty of before, like my journey. And I think that's what you said as well, as you've gone through. It is sort of being able to bring it up in that safe space, isn't it? And examine it and kind of look at it and love it and be like, it's okay. It's okay, and let it be as it is.
Just hold yourself in it. So when you're breaking down, go, it's okay to break down. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have this release. And I know, like, years before, I thought I was okay. you know, no, I thought nothing was wrong with me. I thought I'd been through a bit of stuff in my life, but yeah, everything was all right. And it wasn't until I broke down and I started looking in, actually, I did have all these wounds that needed nurturing, that needed caring, that needed that compassion, that needed understanding. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of sit with, we can only heal with where we are. So for the analogy I use, it's like an onion. So it is like an onion. We peel a layer off, we cry a bit,
Yeah.
we're going to sit with it for a while and it all feels okay. And then the next layer needs to come off and we cry a bit more, do a bit more healing. That kind of, that's how I see it. Like we can only heal where we are, and then we can get deeper into it when we're ready. It doesn't have to be a pushed,
No, it's not a push.
forced process.
You've got to be careful because you could go into a healing crisis. You know, you take it layer by layer, and mine's layers. So I'll
Yeah.
go, oh, there's something else now. There's something else, and it's just like you go down this spiral. Like there's something else, and it's the more I think you go, it's the more you're connecting within. But you can't go straight there. You've got to go like, I don't know, it's like a spiral.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's like a spiral. When you go, right now I'm meeting this part of myself. Now I'm meeting this part of myself because I'm on this part of my journey. So now, like I'm on another part of my journey where I'm going, okay, so I've been through that. I know why I did the things that I did, my unhealthy attachments. Now I'm going, okay, this is a new life now, but I'm focusing on other stuff. Like, okay, just take some time out of where I have just been on my healing journey and have compassion for that and compassion for where I am today and where I could have been if I hadn't had those wounds, you know?
Yeah.
So just, yeah.
And that's an interesting point, isn't it? That idea of where we could be if we didn't have the things that, I mean, the phrase I want to use is the things that have held us back. Yeah. I don't know how you would word that.
Yeah, just our barriers and obstacles really to becoming, you know, to being that person and to having that life that we want and dream of, but we've had those obstacles in our way and we haven't been aware of what they are. And it's that internal struggle, isn't it? Yeah.
And you can't move it, can you, until you know it's there. So there's no point giving yourself hassle, grief. No. I want to swear, but there's no point giving yourself, being hard on yourself because you didn't know a barrier was there.
No, because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know it. Like in one of my therapy sessions, one thing came out that I was scared of letting love in. So I was scared of letting love in, you know, and she said, okay, well, she's taken me on this journey and I said, go within. And I found out it's because I associated love with getting shot. That's what came up in my therapy session was like, I associate love with being killed, but that was my abandonment. That was my abandonment.
Yeah.
So we had to do, you know, I did some work around that. And just to get that awareness, go, that's why I'm afraid of love. That's why I'm afraid of connection. That's why I'm afraid, because my body, which I didn't know about, is thinking that I'm going to die if I go to this place.
Yeah.
That's how the feeling was so strong, but I didn't know that. So no wonder I was like avoiding it or just, not connecting.
And it really demonstrates, doesn't it, how trauma deeply embeds itself within our psyche on a level that we without exploration, unconsciously, we're acting out on and don't realize.
Don't realize. And that's the thing, I'm so passionate about people knowing about trauma. Like when I go anywhere, like important people, like in service to people, and if they don't know about trauma, like why people behave and we act in a way that you know, some schools do it, some other places do it, where you just expect this of the person, not really understand that maybe they're acting in a way because it's a trauma response. And if we could understand trauma a bit more, and I've been like everywhere I go, if somebody don't know about trauma, I kind of want to educate them because I think it's so important that we know about trauma. You know, I think everybody has a little bit of trauma from some, whether it's a little bit or a lot of it within themselves. And it want to help them to understand why they get themselves in situations. Like I now understand why I used to become a bit clingy and needy and attachment because it was my abandonment wounds. And that's why it was. So when you start to understand your trauma, it really sets you free, I think, because you can really know your triggers, protect yourself, you know, what triggers me, how I can stop being in those triggers, what I need to do when I'm in a trigger, you know, and just have that awareness really. And I think that's how we'll stop hurting people, because we hurt people when we're triggered. We then can create more trauma. So yeah.
So it's really bringing it back to sort of the healing of the trauma. The healing of the trauma is recognizing the trauma and being able to
Yeah,
heal rather than re-traumatize yourself or causing trauma to someone
absolutely. Yeah,
else.
yeah. To stop, yeah, going back into that trauma. Yeah.
Yeah. I have absolutely no idea how long we've been talking because I could sit and speak with you for hours. I
I know.
feel that we are probably at time.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, for me, this has been wonderful, and I hope that people have listened and found it interesting. Is there anything you want to leave people with to think about or to take into their day with them today?
Just to have self-compassion. I think we should have compassion. That was my turnaround point, really. Was I started on a lot of inner child work, and part of that was having compassion for my inner child. I couldn't at first, and then I did, and as soon as I did that, something switched in me. Like, something changed in me when I started to have self-compassion. Don't beat yourself up, don't like give yourself a hard time, and surrender. And if there's any struggles that you're going through right now, know that you're not alone, and know that it's okay to feel that way. It's okay.
Mm.
It's okay to break down. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to think, I can't do this. It's okay to be in conflict. And then once you accept that and voice that to yourself, then it breaks down this wall. So then you can go forward and start doing the healing, start looking at stuff, start being true to yourself, and start to reclaim parts of you that you lost to the outside world, and become back to yourself.
Thank you. Thanks so much for speaking with me, Lucy. Thanks for coming and sharing kind of your journey and where you've been, and where you are now with healing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone that's listened. I hope that you found today's episode useful. If anything's come up for you and you want to connect with myself or Lucy, you will find our details in the show notes. You can also give feedback, suggestion, find out more about me and my guest at srtt.co.uk. I will be back next Wednesday with a new guest. And until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.